to record to the computer. Okay, it is recording. All right. So, hey there, it's Eileen Gilbo with The Real Las Vegas at Urban Nest Realty. And I am talking today to, I think, one of my favorite people ever, Julia Oberweis, and she is from White Tie Organizing. You will not believe what she can do with any room in your house. So that is why we're talking to her today. Not only is she just a fabulous human being, but she does such amazing things. And I know, Julia, when I get frustrated, or let's just say my kids are driving me crazy, I go into like cleaning mode. Mm-hmm. And you will find me taking everything out of my pantry. I'm cleaning out closets. I'm doing all kinds of stuff. So I don't think I'm the only person who does that. And since we're spending all this time in our house, you know, I thought it would be great to get your perspective on where do we start?
You know, actually, first of all, thanks for having me.
Yes.
This is so fun. I'm trying to embrace this whole technology thing and go with it.
But well, you got on the call, so that you're doing good.
Click here.
Exactly. You're doing way better than some people right now.
But you talked about when you want to clean and everything, and that is such a healthy way to use up extra energy or to reduce a stressful situation. I do that myself, and I think that was part of my whole discovery process when I was young, to realize that it was called, cleaning, yes, but then you tidy up and you put things a certain way and you're organizing.
Right.
So I was doing it before I really even knew what that word was. Even in
you didn't
college,
know it was a job.
That's right. And then sitting at college, and it's like, of course, you've got to study for an exam or something. Well, who wants to do that? I'd rather, go do my laundry and, organize my closet or clean out my sock drawer, anything but. But it really, what that does is it changes your whole physiology. It changes your mental state, and it gets you to a place, changes how you feel, and for the better, which is why when you're in tune with it, you can use it as a tool. Like, if you're biting your nails or you're, eating yourself out of house and home, switch that energy into tackling your junk drawer, or, go into your closet and take out those, 2 dresses that, every time you put them on, you just, for whatever reason, don't feel good in them. Don't hang them up again. Put them in your, giveaway bag.
Yeah, and that's what I had kind of had a conversation with another lady who owns a co-working space downtown, and I thought, you know what? I think probably most of us are cleaning out something, so maybe we should just have like a clothing exchange when all this is over, because we all have things that we just hold on to for way too long.
Right, exactly. But we already know that.
Yeah.
And it's taking up room in our psyche, whether we realize it or not. If you think of yourself as a computer, your disk space is getting full, and then you're running sluggish and you don't feel like doing things. Well, it's because you need to address certain things in your life. And the longer you put that off, the longer you have to carry it around, and then it does kind of grow. So this is a perfect time to, almost just get mad and say, gosh darn it, right now I'm going to do it. Go for it.
Yeah. Well, and that's if I ever, my kids hate cleaning their room. And once it gets to a certain point, I just bring in the garbage bags. And they're like, no, 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 nope, nope, nope. We'll clean it. We'll do it. We'll do it. You know, but I mean, it's, so where do you, so I don't know if you know, but I have 5 kids. I have 2 grandbabies.
Wow.
My 3 little ones still live at home. And where do you start? So if you were going to tackle one thing in your house, where would you start?
You know, it's really different for everybody, but my best advice I can say now, you know, when I couldn't come and help you, would be start small. Do something that is manageable and doable in, say, you know, a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Because if you say tackle your entire closet or whatever, your entire pantry or whatever, things could get out of hand quick, and then it could turn into a negative experience.
Right.
So I would say just start with one shelf, one drawer, one area, because when you get that accomplished, you get, you know, like a feel good point.
Yeah.
And so it's not quantity, it's quality. So
That's
even if you decide, you know what, I'm going to do my silverware drawer, and just, you know, it might, you know, strike you to do it at 10:30 at night. So
yeah.
be it. You know, when the mood strikes you, you know, or you're standing there with your coffee in the morning and, you know, you pulling out your drawer to get a spoon or whatever, that might be the time. Go with it, but try to make sure you can accomplish it, so then you can feel good about it. Because I know everybody's got a lot of stuff going on, especially if you have children at home and the whole school situation, you know. So also, don't beat yourself up if you haven't been able to tackle the things you want to tackle. You
Right.
can start to make a list in your mind. That's also helpful. Just
Yeah.
start writing down all the places you'd like to get organized, because that also, you know, takes it out of your brain. It's kind of like, you know, you're downloading it.
Yeah,
Getting,
and I know I've heard a lot of women mostly, you know, on social media that they're taking on all these new roles. You know, they uh, worked outside of the home, so they weren't home cooking, you know, 3 meals a day. And I saw this meme that said, you know, now that our kids are home, we're cooking 249 meals a
yeah,
day. And sometimes that is what it feels like, you know, but they're getting really down on themselves because in their mind they should be able to do everything, and
hmm,
it's just not possible. I mean,
hmm,
you do what you can. What
yeah,
you can't do will be there waiting for you, you know, when you do have the bandwidth to kind of, you know, continue doing more. But I think we're really hard on ourselves.
yeah. Well, and people like you and I are, you know, we always want to, you know, do our best and, you know, get it done and things like that. You know, I can only imagine what it's like to have, say, even 3 children at home, probably in 3 different grade levels.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you have to instantly become a teacher of
Right.
those 3 grade levels and set the technology up, you know, and manage your own self, you
Right.
know. It's a lot. And so I think that's why it's so much more important to really not feel like you have to achieve, you know, a certain image or whatever. Just be, you know, take care of yourself so you can take care of others,
Yeah.
and we prioritize, you know.
Well, and honestly, I think this whole thing has been, um, you know, I mean, not that I'm saying, oh, it's, you know, seriousness of it isn't there, or the cause, the deaths that have been happening and all of that. Not to downplay any of it, but I think that it's kind of given us a chance to sit back and to say, okay, I can handle this. I have control over that. I do not have control over, all of these other things. And so you kind of can look and prioritize, because there are just going to be a lot of things that you cannot do anything about,
Right.
but feeling good in our homes really is something that we, can kind of start to do something about. So I guess my next question is, because I know you said start small, which I love, because when I look at something, I don't look at small. I look at this entire, master bedroom, including the closet, the bathroom, and I put all of that weight on me. Like, if it doesn't get done, that I failed in some way.
You
So
said didn't mean to interrupt, but you said an important word, all that weight.
right.
That's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
So that's what I was trying to say. Don't try to shift.
Right.
And you can still think that way, but write it, Eileen. Go ahead and write it down, because then that takes the weight off of you
Right.
and on the paper.
Yeah. And it's okay to start small.
Yeah, well, you have to start somewhere, and that's how I start with my clients. That's part of my job, is to control in a good way the process, so that number one, it's achievable.
Yeah.
We know in the end we're going to achieve this goal. And number two, so that it's a nice experience for my client.
Yeah.
And number three, I always share with them the whys about why, why maybe we're just going to sort first, and why we're going to set this over here for now, so we try to help them understand the process, because then I guess I'm trying to put myself out of business a little bit. I want people to be able to say, I'm calm, and I remember what Julia's taught me.
Yeah.
I have her voice going on in my head now, and I can do this. That's when I feel amazing, because then I know I've shared information.
Yeah.
My
And I honestly, I don't think you're putting yourself out of business, because I think sometimes there's so much attached emotion that we carry with certain things, that we don't really understand ourselves, why we feel a certain way about cleaning up, let's just say, our closet, or why that has been such an issue, or why our garage looks like we never moved out of the boxes that, we moved into our new house 5 years ago, and there's still all this stuff in the garage, because we don't know how to emotionally detach ourselves, or process the emotions that go along with the stuff.
Yeah. And that's where I come in, as a true professional. There's no judgment. My goal is to help you achieve your task.
Yeah.
And it's important for us to remember that while we're realizing all these feelings that we get when we think about doing an organizing project, our closet or garage, our kids are feeling the same thing too, but subliminally. I can't tell you how many times I've gone in to, help children with their rooms, and they're just, they're so detached. They'll be, one of my clients' daughters, she was like this the whole time. She didn't want to engage with me. She hated her room. with her permission and mom's permission, I said, can I just take everything down off the walls? We're not going to throw it away. All I'm going to do is take it down.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, do whatever, because I hate my room. Like, I can decode that. I know what that really means. It's like, please, yes, will you do it? Because I can't, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
So that once all that was down, this happened. Oh my gosh, I feel so much better,
Wow.
said this teenager.
Yeah.
So sometimes, you and I have a lot of skills that we've picked up in life, but the kids don't. They haven't learned those skills yet.
Right.
So being at home with your kids, this can be a great opportunity to transform their room, with them as a learning experience and a fun
Right.
experience for everybody, and can be part of, let's take today off and play hooky and make your room a happy place instead.
Well, and it's strange because even using that example, like if I go into my kid's room to clean it, it's out of frustration. Where now we've kind of, I don't know how you started dealing with this, but I mean, it's been a roller coaster. I mean, of just emotion. And I think we're kind of all settling in to where now everyone's emotions aren't, all over the place. So, I mean, if families are settled in at this point, it might be a good time to kind of go through that with them. And okay, I promise next time I'll leave the trash can or the trash bags out. Because
Well,
trust me, my kids don't think it's fun when I come in.
another thing that I try to set up with my clients is, whether it's me, in my laundry room, I have a giving box.
Yeah.
Try to create a giving box for each of your kids' rooms too, because they need a place you need a destination to put things that on their own they can decide that they don't want to have around them anymore. And you can always decide the ultimate destination later.
Right.
But the first step is the decision that it's not going to be in their room anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you could have two boxes. One can be a giving box, and the other can be a keepsake box. I'm a big keepsake box person.
Yeah.
What do you do with all their memories, their, artwork, or whatever the case may be? As they grow and develop, they can begin to keep things that are meaningful to them, but they don't necessarily have to have them staring at them the whole time too.
Right.
So all of a sudden something might be, a little childish, or, I don't want that anymore, but I don't necessarily want to throw it away.
Right.
Says the child.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when they have a place where they can store it or put it, but they've made that decision.
Right.
So then that's empowering them. It's part of growing up.
Yeah.
And it's part of self-discovery for them. But I think the missing piece is a place for them to put whatever that item is.
Right.
Otherwise, it just gets moved to the dresser, moves from this shelf, gets stuffed in that drawer, gets thrown over there on the other side of the bed, and it just goes around and around and around.
And a lot of times something that they may want to keep ends up getting ruined because it doesn't have that place to go.
Yeah, or the level of frustration goes way beyond, and then everything gets thrown out, and everybody's angry, and emotions are high.
Yeah.
And then it turns into a negative experience.
Yeah.
So
this is actually so interesting to me because honestly, the whole time we've been talking, it has been psychology. So how did you land on this career?
It's funny. I grew up in our family business. And so thinking about other people has just always been, you know, in my life because it was, um, we had our dairy. So it was always about the customer service,
Yeah.
and was our product meeting our high standard, so it was always outward focused. And my dad was very active in the Lions Club, growing up. So
Yeah.
there was philanthropy there, So it's just been a way of life for me. And my professional background is that of a dental hygienist. And I went on and became a dental hygiene instructor. So I think then there's that teaching component that comes in. So I had my bachelor's degree in dental hygiene with a minor in sociology.
Okay.
So it just comes naturally to me that you're always dealing with people.
Yeah.
And when you're dealing with people, they're going to be just like you. We have emotions. We can have
Right.
good days. We can have bad days. We can have things happen that we don't know why. But I've also been interested in, I have a lot of our family treasures just by default. My brother didn't want them. I'm pretty sentimental, so when I'm working with clients that have a lot of family history things, I
Yeah.
will always err on the side of keeping it
Yeah.
because those are, certain things you just cannot replace,
Right.
and as we move in this modern era, here we are, 2020, I have a chair that was in my great grandmother's home from the late 1800s. And so when I'm with my client and they're like, oh, what am I going to do with that? That's so old. I'm like, hold on. We're going to set this aside for right now. Let's not be too hasty
Right.
and deal with some of the other things that we know we can get rid of, the cardboard boxes, blah, blah, blah. Let's work on that stuff.
Yeah.
Because in the end, when you get rid of a lot of the excess stuff, those family treasures begin to shine.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I see my clients go, oh my gosh, I never thought that chair was pretty, but now I really like it. Maybe I'll get it reupholstered and put it in the guest room. So there's that whole evolution
Yeah.
that goes on. So when people ask me, are you going to tell me to get rid of everything? It's like, probably not.
Well, and it's so funny that you say that because so my family doesn't really have family treasures. We don't have like that lineage of time of things passed down. But my husband's family does. And he is super sentimental
Yeah.
and I'm not. And it's just so funny to watch us interact when it comes to those things. And he'll tell me, well, of course you're going to go in there and get rid of, this, that, or the other. You could care less. And he's the one that's like, you are not getting rid of, X, Y, and Z. And we've kind of had to mesh,
Mm-hmm.
how we feel about things. And I think over the years, I've become more sentimental and he's become a little less, with the, grip on, every single thing. But it's just so interesting that you said family treasures because I don't know that I ever related that to being why some people might be sentimental and why, like me personally not having that,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, maybe that is why I'm not as sentimental as, other people.
Well, and I've met clients that have had family treasures too, and they're like, look, I just don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, well, I can understand that too. but then let's send it on its way in an appropriate manner. So I guess my point is I try to always treat things with the utmost respect, for everybody's things.
Yeah, because they're going to have value to someone in
Yeah.
some capacity. If we don't value them, any longer, then, maybe there are other members of the family, or, and I know that sometimes some of those items can become burdens.
Yes.
And I know, like, my in-laws have beautiful, beautiful furniture that they have had, I mean, 40, 50 years, and nobody wants it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not the style, it's not the trend. We all already have, and it's hard to kind of say that because you want to keep, them with you in some way, even
Hmm.
if it's through this, china closet that you have no idea where you're going to put it or what you're going to do with it. So it's hard. It really is hard making
Yeah.
those kind of decisions.
It is, and that's the process. And my goal to do that with my clients is always to never, try to talk them into anything, but to lead them through the process
Yeah.
so that they feel heard and their family, is understood and honored. And maybe you can't keep that place setting. I have a client, oh my gosh, gorgeous Limoges China, and he's like, I'm all alone. I don't have any family to give this to. I can't possibly keep it, but it was my grandmother's and I love it so much. So we chose a few pieces, like he still has the little salt and pepper shakers that he can still use. And that fills that love
Yeah.
connection to his family so that he doesn't have to carry around that huge set of
Right.
dishes anymore. But we couldn't have gotten to that point if I would have come in and said, well, yeah, well, just get rid of it if you don't want it. So there's
Yeah,
that.
because then after the fact, if you really don't process what you're doing or why you're, getting rid of something, I would think that that would be, slightly traumatic,
Yeah.
later on down the road, because now you're second guessing that decision,
Mhm.
to let that go, or there's guilt involved, I mean,
Sure.
whatever it is. I mean, it's, yeah, I can see where it has to be for people probably exhausting and exhilarating at the same time, to go through that process. I mean, even just hearing about it, it's like, oh my gosh, the weight of all of that, again, the weight of just carrying all of that around with you, finally being able to let it go, has to be fabulous.
Yeah, it is. And, but I've had to do it with my parents' home. And when I think I've made a mistake, like, oh, why did I let that tray go?
Yeah.
It's only my attachment to it.
Yeah.
Um, so I've had those feelings of guilt or why did I let that go? But I always try to turn it around also. Because I've had clients where they'll tell me, yeah, oh yeah, my daughter doesn't want that desk anymore. I'm sick and tired of it. Let's let it go. And then 2 weeks later, you're like, that was my daughter's desk. And I go, I know. So mistakes can happen,
Yeah.
but we also have to remember, you think of people that have lost everything in a fire, you
Yeah.
know, or we've just had those tornadoes
Mhm.
recently, that while we may think we've made a mistake, what's most important is the person
Right.
and their memory of love.
Yeah.
And you just try to say, yes, it happened. It can't be undone. You know, we can be sad about it. It's okay. However, let's try to keep it in perspective. And as we move forward, let's, be more aware of that sometimes too.
We,
Because that's part of my job too. It's like, well, my clients want all of a sudden, they're like, get rid of that stuff. And I might be like, well, okay, I kind of let the reins out a little bit, but then I got to pull it in. It's sometimes like,
well, and it's so funny that you say that, because we had a fire, and I mean, luckily it wasn't a bad fire, but things that I had stored like from my childhood,
oh,
and very few, I had like maybe 2 or 3 items from my childhood, and they were beyond, beyond saving. And yeah, I mean, and it's strange because I don't believe that those had any type of, my kids were not going to fight over the baby doll that I had chewed all the fingers off of, and that I had drawn on her face, and she had one little wisp of hair left.
yeah.
They weren't going to fight over that. I mean, it just had, I guess in that way, that was sentimental to me because I had so few things.
Sure.
But in the same token, it would have been, to try to recover that would have been, impossible. But yeah, it really is strange, the things that we have that we do kind of
Mhm.
cling to.
And it is emotional,
Yeah.
and it's emotional growth in a positive way.
Yeah.
It, it's always how it's not just about putting everything in a plastic tub. It's why is something important to me? Um, is it really worthy of taking up space in my home? Do I have room to keep everything? If I cannot keep it for whatever reason, you say thank you to
Right.
it and appreciate it and love it if you need to take a picture of it or whatever. And then it is time to let it go off, sail into the universe, or let it go as a memory.
Yeah.
It's emotional growth when you can do that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So
Hmm.
do when your clients hire you, do they generally hire you for one specific area, one specific thing? Do they hire you for their whole house? I mean, how does that usually happen?
I've had clients, one of my dearest clients hired me and we did her whole house. But I've had people call me and just say, let's just do the pantry. And maybe the rest of their house is really fine, for whatever reason, they just needed help in the pantry. But then it usually translates, and I see this, is that they want to make an intentional step in cleaning up the food and their health. And so, her linen closet might be, perfection. Her master closet, his and hers closet's fabulous.
Yeah.
But their food area is a mess, and they're recognizing it
Yeah.
and calling in for help because they are serious about getting it done. And they know when you call in a professional, there's no judgment. We set it up in such a way that after maybe it's one appointment or two or however long I think it would take, it's going to be handled
Right.
and they're done, you know. But I do have other clients, they'll call me in and it'll start to be one thing and then it goes into another. But for me, it's always client led.
Well, and I think that, I mean, I know my personality, I would say, "Oh, can you come do this one thing? And then let's see how we work together." And
Hmm.
because I mean, you're inviting someone into your home.
Yeah.
They're going to see all your dirty laundry, so to speak.
Oh, yeah.
And you want to make sure that, like you said, there is no judgment, and that it is something that they feel comfortable doing with you. So I mean, it's that probably, I would think, would happen quite often, where they're like, oh, okay, now that we've tackled this, let's move on to
Yeah.
all these other spaces.
And most of my clients are referrals, or people that know me personally and have come to know me over the years. And like you say, it's a trust thing. I am going into people's homes, and it is, for me, my home is a very sacred space, and I treat other people's homes that way when
Yeah.
I'm here also. You can think of it also though, like if you have housekeeping come in, they're here, we all might tidy up before housekeeping comes. But if the house is clean,
Right.
you're not gonna have anything to do.
Right.
So with my clients, I specifically say, now please do not straighten up or take a picture. And then, because I need to see what the situation
Right.
is, as
Right.
part of my work is not just straightening everything, but then helping them find a new solution so that
Right.
it doesn't happen
Right.
again.
Yeah,
So
I have had pantry envy with some of the clients that you have helped, because I'm like, oh, that pantry looks so nice. It's all about making it work for you and your family.
Mhm.
So I have, what's the number one tip, or do you have a number one tip that you give to people?
For pantries, you mean?
No,
Or
for anything. I mean, what's the number one thing that you find yourself repeating over and over again?
cardboard boxes. Get yourself out of cardboard boxes. Even if you just take whatever is in that cardboard box and don't get rid of anything, just transplant into, a plastic tub or whatever, because especially in our climate, but anywhere, cardboard boxes, they're unattractive. You don't know what's in them. They attract critters, and at least with a plastic tub, it's a place to start,
Right.
where then you can see through them and they stack nicely.
Yeah.
So you're changing the aesthetic. You're changing what you're looking at, which goes in, subliminally. And that's another aspect of what I do, is I'm always trying to add that beauty in at the end, or, being handsome, or, masculine, for depending on my client. But most of my clients are women. So, I always stand back and, is it functional? Are you efficient in the space? Is it working for you? And then, does it look nice?
Yeah.
So cardboard boxes are usually kind of, so
Well,
that's,
and I think if it looks nice, you want to keep it looking nice.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah. So it all kind of ties in. And as I work with my clients, they are raising their awareness and in their home, and beginning to take an active role in how they want to live. And I'm not talking about being a perfectionist at all, but I'm talking about, finding a place for the thing and putting it there, and then the whole family knows that this is where it belongs. And it's just a whole awareness. And if you've got the whole family on board, that's really fabulous. Because
Oh,
if you've got a saboteur under the roof,
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine that is has to be part of your charm, because I can see you being able to kind of pull everybody together.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
So
when everybody's on board, because I think secretly everybody wants to live in a nice space too, but they
yeah,
just don't know how.
yeah,
And that's okay. And then that's where we're learning, let's ask for help.
right.
Like, yeah, we know Julia. Oh, there's a sweetheart. Hi, darling. Oh, look how cute. I love your freckles. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
You're, beau-
they got their mama's freckles.
you're beautiful.
Thank you. Well, and so I always ask this question when, I mean, normally we would be face to face, we would be in the same room. We would not be 6 feet apart. Um, and so I always like to ask people their basically Vegas story, because everybody comes to Las Vegas a different way. A lot of stories sound familiar, um, or similar, I should say. So, how did you happen to move to Las Vegas?
I moved here because my little niece, who's now 12 and a half, she was born, and I have one brother, and he lived here with his wife. And when I came up to see my new niece, I think she was maybe a month old, and I held her for the first time. I said, I really want to be near her and around her while she's growing up. And at the time, I lived in the Caribbean.
Oh my God.
So that was like the complete opposite of Las Vegas.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it took a few years, but I made a decision and ended up buying a house here. And we first would travel every 2 years, but I would get to be with her and she would get to know me. And then I finally moved here permanently in 2010, which has been 10 years already too. So she was born in 97, I think. Yeah. So that first year
2007.
after being with her, it took us 2 years till we came back. But that's when I found the house and then decided to stay. And so it was for family, because otherwise Las Vegas would have been on the last place, you know, on earth that I would have ever thought. But isn't that how it goes? Sometimes you just never
Right.
know.
Well, and especially, I mean, moving from the Caribbean, that is a true departure from what you were used to.
Yeah, yeah, it really was. It's, every day, the palm trees and the ocean, I had it, I lived it. And so I thrive on those memories now too. But, you have to bloom where you're planted as well.
Absolutely.
And if there was one perfect place to live, everybody would be living there.
Right.
And it
Oh yeah.
just is the perfect place. But
Well,
so
where family is a good start for a perfect place.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's amazing. So, do you have anything else that you would like to share?
Well, a little bit of inspiration.
Yes, please.
If you're so inclined, and you spoke earlier, I did my video series. I did 32 days in a row, and the series is called Fall in Love with Your Home Again. And it's on my Facebook page. And I was a little delayed in uploading it to LinkedIn and Instagram, but it's almost all up on that on those platforms as well. But
So, what is the name of your Facebook page?
the Facebook page is under my name,
Okay.
Julia Oberweis. I also have a white tie organizing page, but I did the main posting to my name page.
Okay,
And
so we'll link all of that um,
Okay.
at the bottom of this video so people can find you.
Okay. And that way, if you want to be inspired, and again, it maybe will help you create that list of places in your home to tackle.
Well,
And
when you did when you did 32, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I had 32 places in my house. It could be an issue. So, I mean, I was thoroughly impressed, and each one of them, I mean, just in case you're interested in watching it, each one of them has significance. Each one of them, she tells you why it's important, kind of what it does to your psyche, and yeah, it's a good series to watch.
thank you. Thank you. I enjoyed it. I really did. I wanted to continue, but then I thought, well, let me just kind of tie it up with a little bow and make it like 31 days, which is like a month. And on day 32, I basically said thank you to everybody for watching. But I'd also like to expand it and maybe do some instruction on folding, especially for kids now.
Kids,
We're folding so different. Marie Kondo, she's done some amazing things, and it just
yeah,
to help the kids feel like they can be in control of their things because
yeah.
they learn, so if we can help them learn, it serves them. The habits they'll
So,
carry on.
so I need to know how to fold a fitted sheet.
I
You-
did that was day whichever, but yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, oh my gosh, yeah, that would be
That was a fun. I think that got over 600 views already.
oh.
Yeah, that was the biggest one. Yeah.
Okay, so that is one of the ones that you did.
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna have to go back and find it.
How to fold a fitted sheet. Yeah, that was fun because to be honest with you, that one I did on the first take, and I was thinking, oh gosh, this is gonna take a long time, and I just did it. So it's like, yay!
Yeah, sometimes all the pieces just fall into place.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you so much for doing this with me, and we'll have to get together once we're kind of out of this quarantine situation, and do this in person.
Absolutely. I miss you,
I
Eileen.
know I miss you too. All right. Well, I will post all of Julia's information and White Tie Organizing's information below this video, so you can reach out to her and kind of regain control over your home. So thank you for joining us, and I will see you the next time. Bye.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Thanks. I'm going to just stop the, or oh, hold on. I'm going to stop the recording.